Have you ever sat across from someone you've known for decades, maybe a long-time friend, a sibling, or even your own grown child, and felt the air change the moment you let the mask slip? You shared a real fear that's been gnawing at you, admitted a doubt that keeps you awake, spoke plainly about a struggle you're carrying. At first the response felt warm, nods, soft words, a hand on your arm, that reassuring, "I'm here." But days or weeks later, something shifted. The same people started speaking to you more gently, more carefully, as if you were fragile now. Conversations turned lighter when you entered the room. Invitations to weigh in on bigger matters arrived less often. You became the one they confided in, not the one they turned to for steady counsel. What began as honest connection quietly became a subtle demotion. Not every truth strengthens your position. Sometimes the most damaging thing you can do is hand over the full map of your inner world without a filter. If you've lived long enough to notice how vulnerability, once released, changes the way people stand around you, this one cuts deep. Let's talk about the social cost of emotional transparency and why learning to contain it rather than spill it is one of the quietest ways to preserve the respect you've earned over a lifetime. The modern world sells openness like medicine. Be vulnerable, be radically transparent, show your scars so others can show theirs. Authenticity at all costs has become almost a moral commandment in books, podcasts, therapy circles, even casual conversations. The message is everywhere. Real connection requires real exposure. And there's truth in that. Guarded people can feel distant, walled off, hard to love. But the narrative rarely mentions the other side. Openness builds warmth and closeness, yet it also reveals leverage points. Every fear you name, every insecurity you voice, every raw moment you share becomes data others can use, consciously or not, to reposition themselves in relation to you. What feels like brave honesty in the moment can quietly erode the steady authority you once projected without effort. Emotional transparency is expression. Emotional control is regulation. The two are not opposites, but they pull in different directions. Sharing a feeling in a measured, intentional way can deepen trust. Unloading every wave of emotion as it hits, dumping fears, doubts, hurts without pause, crosses into something else. It shifts you from someone who feels to someone who is feeling right now, visibly, uncontrollably. Over decades, research into leadership and social perception has consistently shown one pattern: emotional stability. The ability to experience strong feelings without being visibly overtaken by them dramatically increases how competent, reliable, and authoritative someone appears. The person who can acknowledge pain privately yet show up composed publicly reads as safe to follow. The one who regularly spills the contents of their inner storm, even with good intentions, starts to read as less steady, someone to comfort rather than someone to rely on. Social hierarchies process vulnerability very differently depending on who's watching. Among true peers or in deeply safe relationships, empathy often flows both ways. Shared struggles can tighten bonds. But in mixed groups, where friends, family, colleagues, or community members overlap, others are scanning for position. Competitors quietly store the information you've given them. Potential allies note where your armor is thin. Leaders, especially, are judged by a harsher standard, the capacity to contain pressure so others don't have to. When you hand over unfiltered access to your emotional state, you alter how people position themselves around you. Some move closer with kindness, others move back with caution. A few move forward, sensing an opening. The information itself changes the geometry of the room. The perception shift happens gradually but unmistakably. Oversharing reduces mystique. The more layers you peel back voluntarily, the less enigmatic and therefore less compelling you become. Frequent vulnerability, even when it feels cathartic, chips away at perceived resilience. People begin to see you as someone who needs support rather than someone who provides it. Repeated emotional exposure lowers the baseline assumption of strength. The scarcity principle applies even here. Vulnerability that is rare and deliberate feels profound. Vulnerability that is routine starts to feel ordinary, even burdensome. After enough years of being the steady one in your circles, it can be tempting to finally let people in. But selective revelation preserves the quiet power that constant openness quietly erodes. The hidden costs reveal themselves in subtle ways. You start being treated gently instead of seriously, as if your opinions now need cushioning. You become the emotional outlet, the person others unload on because you've shown you can handle heavy feelings, and perhaps need to talk about them too. High-stakes decisions get made without looping you in. People assume you're too preoccupied with your own struggles or too sensitive to handle hard calls. You get labeled sensitive rather than stable, deep rather than decisive. It's not cruelty, it's social recalibration. The group unconsciously repositions you lower in the unspoken hierarchy because your emotional availability signals lower leverage. There is a crucial difference between strategic and reactive vulnerability. Strategic vulnerability is controlled, intentional, timed. You choose what to reveal, to whom, and when, usually to build trust or model courage in a specific context. It strengthens authority because it demonstrates self-awareness without surrender. Reactive vulnerability is emotional, impulsive, repetitive. The urge to vent, to seek immediate validation, to offload discomfort the moment it arises. It erodes authority because it broadcasts a lack of internal containment. High-status vulnerability, shared sparingly and with purpose, can actually elevate respect. Low-control vulnerability, poured out freely, quietly undermines it. Every detail you share reduces unpredictability. Predictability lowers social tension, and lower tension lowers perceived power. Power thrives on a degree of composure under pressure. The sense that you can handle what comes without needing to broadcast every ripple. When others can't fully anticipate your inner state, they stay alert, respectful, slightly off balance in a productive way. When your emotions become a predictable broadcast, that edge disappears. You become readable, manageable, less formidable. Context is everything. In close, reciprocal relationships, long marriages, lifelong friendships, trusted confidants, appropriate transparency often deepens connection without cost. In public environments, leadership positions, competitive arenas, or even extended family dynamics where roles are still being negotiated, the same level of openness can shift leverage permanently. Transparency must match the environment. What heals in one setting can weaken in another. After enough years navigating different rooms, most of us develop an instinct for which spaces can hold our full truth and which require measured portions. The balance model is straightforward: warmth plus boundaries plus emotional regulation. Share selectively enough to be human, not so much that you become transparent. Reveal deliberately when it serves connection or growth, not when it simply relieves pressure. Protect core leverage. Keep the deepest currents private until trust and timing align. This isn't about hiding who you are, it's about honoring the power that comes with self-possession. The discipline of containment starts with a simple pause. Before the words leave your mouth, ask, why am I saying this right now? Am I building real connection, or am I seeking validation, relief, reassurance? Is this moment the right one with the right person for this level of exposure? Self-awareness alone restores control. The ability to feel deeply yet choose what to show separates those who are respected from those who are merely comforted. Here is the insight that settles in after many seasons. Strength isn't hiding emotion, it's choosing when to reveal it. The most powerful people you've known didn't broadcast every inner tremor. They felt it, processed it, and showed up steady anyway. That steadiness drew others in, not because it was false, but because it was rare and earned. You've carried enough weight, weathered enough storms, to understand this now. Next time the impulse to spill everything rises, breathe. Let the feeling pass through without becoming a performance. Protect the quiet authority that time and experience have given you. Because the strongest connections aren't built on total exposure. They're built on mutual respect, and respect begins with self-respect shown through what you wisely choose to keep close.